I had previously set up for the live stream and talking about Sega Genesis, obviously, and you see Sega Genesis cartridges sitting right here. And within 5 minutes was kicked out 5 times for whatever the connection was not maintaining. So I'm going to try this one more time here to see if we can hang on. And had people in chat and everything, and then like I said, 5 minutes kicked out 5 times. And I'm wondering if Google is still having issues because they've had or four rather global outages in the last 2 weeks, and wondering if they're screwing up again. And I really hate that, because you start talking and you start talking to people and you start getting going there, and then you get thrown out again, thrown out 4 times in 5 minutes, and just completely rebooted the whole stream now. So the previous stream probably has like a couple of minutes of choppiness and nothing, and I'll have to go in and delete it later. So hopefully, whoever was in here found their way into this stream, and other people could join us. It's just aggravating. It's just aggravating. Hopefully, it's sorted itself out now. So if you're in here, go ahead and comment and thumbs up and whatever, and just say hello. And as I was pointing out, there's Granny Smith there. As I was pointing out, we've talked about a lot of media here in the last couple of weeks. There's a lot of DVDs, Saturday morning and after school, or yeah, after school cartoons and TV specials and things like that. And there's Star Groove made it. Glad somebody's in there because yeah, there's a lot having a lot of trouble with the connection. A lot of anime and Godzilla and Jerry Anderson stuff there. Vintage television we talked about on Monday. And today we're getting into the Sega Genesis realm, the video game realm. And Eric Peter says, yeah, I can imagine you're getting all prepared and ready to roll, and then YouTube begins. But we're here. Oh, I'm glad you made it. Glad somebody made it. Yeah, K. Munin was there, and Gilgamesh was there, and there's some other people that you might recognize, and then bam, it kept just skipping out, and it's like, what the hell? Can I get something done here, YouTube, please? No, no. And I had to start again, all over again. But I got the lamps, and these are the lamps, of course, I use when I'm working on comic books, when I'm cleaning them up. Because, of course, I do clean and press comic books. So I'll go ahead and turn the extra lights on. There we are, because it does help. It does help for us to be able to see what we're doing as we take a look at some classic Sega Genesis. And, I've got a lot of vintage systems. I've got Atari 2600. I've got Sega GameCube. And you see there's two GameCubes there. That's because one of them is with the Game Boy attachment. So you can play the Game Boy cartridges on the GameCube, and that's this one. See? And I've got the original Game Boy, Nintendo 64, Nintendo NES, Super Nintendo, PlayStation 2, and Xbox 360. And Xbox 360 is about as far as I go. I had a Wii system. I got rid of it because I've never used it. My kid used it. My kid used to use it, and I never used it, and I actually ended up getting rid of it. But Sega Genesis is one of my go-tos. So whenever I'm in the mood, I've also got the, what do you call it? The Galaxy, the DS. I've got like the 3D Galaxy DS as well. I used to use that quite a bit. But whenever I'm in the mood and I feel like I want to play some games, I always seem to want either the Nintendo NES or the Sega Genesis. Those are the ones I'm most interested in when I feel like playing video games. Even though I've got a bunch, I don't have a ton. I don't have like some people you see they got walls and walls of video game cartridges or discs. And I'm not balling out of control like that. I think the most cartridges I have are actually Nintendo NES cartridges. Nintendo NES. Um, but the Sega Genesis has always been a favorite of mine. And we can actually even take a look at a couple of these if anybody's curious. Eric says, do you remember what game came with the Genesis? Where are we? During the initial release. Yeah, that would be the Sonic the Hedgehog. And Stars Groove is back. He says, I see you have a copy of Gods. That may be the strangest cartridge I own. It's a European developed game, and I happen to acquire a Japanese copy. It's a weird game, and I can take a look at that as well. Because, like I said, I have a handful here of Sega Genesis cartridges, and I have a few. Hi, Dusty. Hi, Dusty. You gonna behave yourself? So now I have what? Four cats in the room. There's Dusty. She's a Russian blue. She extremely soft. It's like petting a chinchilla. It's crazy. Uncle, the big lump here, 25 pounds of lazy cat. Granny Smith, and then Monkey, who is asleep for a change. Asleep for a change. But yeah, we can take a look at some of these because I do have a Sega set up. I've got and who else is here? Let me try to see that. Andy Keyshore, and Munin made it back. What happened to the first stream? It would not stay connected. And after the fourth time it dropped in 5 minutes, I just decided it must be something wrong with the initial connection to that stream. So I shut it completely down and reopened a new one, and now it works. Stars Group said my Japanese gauze, oh, it jumped. Wouldn't work on my American Genesis by normal means, but I could get it to work with a Game Genie code. And Munin remembers Sega Genesis from childhood. And Eric Peters says, I thought it was Altered Beast when it was initially released and the Sonic came later. I could be wrong. I remember Beast is what came with mine. I remember it being Sonic. But what do I know? I could be wrong. But I remember it being Sonic. But I've got some weird games. I have also the AtGames Sega Genesis, and that's actually hooked up to the computer right now. And the AtGames Sega Genesis is... What are you doing, Granny? Get off my leg. What's the matter? What's the matter, dear? You okay? The AtGames version has games in it, but you can also plug Sega cartridges into it if it's a game that it doesn't have. There's like 100 games or something in there, I forget. Some of them are crap, but some of them are really classic. Taking a look at a few of what I've got here. And like I said, I don't have like a huge selection, but there's a few here that are just, in my opinion, they're amazing. Amazing games. This one, the cover is missing. But this is the Lion King. That's the Lion King. It's okay. It's an okay game. Activision's Pitfall, which is like a more advanced version of the original Atari Pitfall, which I used to play quite a bit. The Atari Pitfall, which at its time was considered to be one of the greatest graphic games out there. The old 4-bit Atari Pitfall, which is pitiful by today's standards. Munin says, I see Mace by the TV. David must go medieval from time to time. Yeah, just in case you need to whack somebody upside their head. Then you've got the Sonic collection. And like I said, this is the one that I got, see, not for resale. This is the one that came with my Sega Genesis. The original Sonic the Hedgehog. The original Sonic the Hedgehog, which was leaps and bounds. And it didn't take much. Just a few bits of data going from the 8 bits of the Nintendo NES to 16 on Sega Genesis was mind-boggling. The graphics on this and the music and everything are just iconic. The original Sonic the Hedgehog. And then, of course, you got Sonic 2, more of the same. More of the same, great music, great graphics, a fun game. This one's also not for resale. And then Sonic 3. Sonic 3, and the bonus stages on this are a pain in the ass. Just saying. You know, Sonic and Tails, and you get to play with Tails, or somebody can play with you and be Tails, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. And we'll take a look at a couple of these here in a minute, because I'm sure I've got a couple that people aren't familiar with. That is the Sonic and Knuckles with the expansion. I know this missing the cover again on that one. And then this is Sonic 3D Blast, which is a pain in the ass. This is a pain in the ass game to play. It's got weird 3D graphics though. Weird 3D graphics. Let me catch up a couple of comics there. I see Tuck is here. Glad you could make it. Stars Groove says he has an early Genesis packed with Altered Beast. Okay. Munich says Sonic has quite the history. To this day, the games, toys, and apparel sell very well. That's true. And John McJunkin is here. Glad you could make it. And was that the Sonic Spinball? This should be the Sonic Spinball, right? Yeah. No, Sonic 3D Blast. Where's the Spinball? I must have it somewhere else. Which is a Sonic the Hedgehog pinball game. And that thing is a nightmare to play. And the last stage, and I swear it'll take you like 3 hours to finish the last stage, if you can finish it. Star Control. Which, you know, honestly, I don't remember this game very well, but I've got it. Star Control, everybody, thank you. In the replacement case that apparently I can't close now. There we go. And Josh is here. Josh is joining us. Stars Groove said Golden Axe, Strider, and Streets of Rage 2 are my holy trinity of Genesis games. I'll say honestly, Streets of Rage 2 is the best of the Streets of Rage series, and I do really like Streets of Rage 2, and I like Golden Axe 2 better than Golden Axe 1. Streets of Rage and Golden Axe 3 are both that weird 3D effect, and they don't look good. They don't look good. And Josh is really free because he said it 4 times. Here's the Street Fighter 2 Special Championship Edition. I used to play this a lot with one of my kids. We used to play this a ton. I'm trying to get it in focus. It's being weird. But I don't know why it won't come into focus. Street Fighter 2. Used to play this one a lot. I used to like to play as Sagat or Vega. Toe Jam and Earl, Panic on Funkotron. Fun game. And then Mickey's World of Illusion. Mickey's World of Illusion, very underrated. Came Unit said Street Fighter 2 is a classic. It was an animated movie that got me heavy in the anime. Okay. And it's got great electronic music. So does this. Mickey's World of Illusion is a very, very underrated game. I used to play this also with my kid. And it's one of the few Sega cartridges that will save. Because when you get to certain points in the game, then you get a code so that you can get back to that point. I don't know why it's the focus is being weird on here. Or maybe it's just what I'm seeing. And I'll turn on the AtGames system there. That's the AtGames. It should pop up. There we go. And then you plug in these cartridges, and it'll pick the cartridge up, or it should. It should pick the cartridge up. It didn't. It didn't work. Let me try that again. Unless it's just being ornery. Because usually you turn it on and then you plug in a cartridge and then it grabs it. Is it working? I don't know if it's working. Maybe it's just the Illusion cartridge is acting up. It needs to be cleaned, maybe. But I think it's a really underrated game. I used to play that one a lot. And then Star Groove says technically they prefer SF2CE on Super Nintendo. It plays really well on Genesis with the 6-button pad, though. Aladdin, which is, it's an okay game. Aladdin is all right. Battletoads and Double Dragon. They never made a Battletoads movie, did they? They did make Double Dragon live action, and there was action figures for that too. And it's a terrible game. I mean, not a terrible game, but a terrible film. But it's one of those films that's like so cheesy, it's fun to watch, like the original Super Nintendo movie, Mario Brothers. Global Gladiators. This is another really underrated game, and it's a McDonald's game. Global Gladiators is McDonald's. And Ronald is in this game in the bonus rounds. I don't know if anybody is familiar with Global Gladiators or not. If you've ever heard of Global Gladiators or if you've ever seen it. Let me see. Munin says, what's your favorite gaming system? Mine is the PS1. Very fond memories of playing Final Fantasy VII and Bushido Blade. See, this one is working. This is the Global Gladiators. See? And you jump, and you've got like a, and you see that M there for McDonald's. So you jump up, oops. And you've got like a super soaker, and you kill these slime creatures because you're in a land of pollution. Let me see if I can get that positioned right. I don't know if anyone's ever seen this one. Anybody familiar with this game? And basically you've got a super soaker full of soap. So I don't know if anyone has ever seen this one before. I used to get a lot of play value out of this. And it's a long game, and it's actually harder than it looks, and it gets more and more difficult naturally. And then in the bonus round is Ronald McDonald. Let me see if I got any comments there. And Stars said Global Gladiators was McKids on NES. Yeah, my favorite system again, yeah, I'm always going to go back to either Sega Genesis or Nintendo NES, even though the very first game cartridge I ever had was, very first game cartridge I ever had was actually, or game system I ever had was actually the Atari 2600. Uh-oh, I'm dead. Been a long time since I messed with this one. But just to give you the idea there, if you've never seen Global Gladiators before. And John McJunkin says, ah, yes, the good old days of video game cartridges and discs. I'm just waiting until they plug our minds into an artificial intelligence virtual gaming world and play Pac-Man in the restroom. Kind of like, what is it, Sword Art Online? Is that the anime? Munin probably knows better than I do. I watched some of that Sword Art Online, and that's the premise. Only they all get trapped and they're stuck in there. And Munin says to think McDonald's once did stuff like this. I know, And another one, and I don't have the cartridge. Yeah, I believe it was Sega Genesis. Was it Sega Genesis? I think it was. Spot from 7 Up. Very tough game. Spot. Spot was a tough game to play. And then we've got, there's Golden Axe 2. One of my all-time favorites. Used cartridge, obviously. And Golden Axe 2 is one of the few games that I used to play in the arcade that I had completely mastered. In the arcade, I could get all the way to the end of Golden Axe 2 and finish without taking a single hit. On the game console, no, I can't do it. And of course, you know, you've got like this kind of controller instead of a joystick. It's just the difference in that format made the home version more challenging, even though it looked the same. But I could run this in the arcade all the way to the end without taking a single hit. In the cartridge version, I'm probably gonna die at least once before I get to the end. You know, I'm gonna lose one life. The other ones I was really good at was Moon Patrol, Bosconian. That's B-O-C, like a C instead of a T, like Bostonian. It's Bosconian. And Xenophobe, which I have on NES, but on NES it looks terrible. And I used to play that to the end as well. And John wants to know if anyone ever had a Sega Saturn. Munin says Sword Online is a very popular anime, though anime series where people are trapped in a game are a common theme. Dot Hack Sign was one of the originals. Okay, I figured you would know. And there's Gods, and this is the one that was being spoken about earlier. Gods is this is a fun game, and it's weird, and it's another one that you can save. It's one of the few cartridges, one of the few Sega Genesis cartridges that has a save function. Let me see if I can plug it in. Uh-oh. See if it'll pick it up. Or if it's going to be weird. But yeah, you can save sections of Gods. Here we go. Great music on this too. And for the time, the graphics are really good. If you can even see it. I know there's a lot of glare and weirdness. You can see my legs there. And Munin says, if you have a PS2, you can actually find the Don't Hack games on it. They were popular in the early 2000s. And this is what it looks like. Uh-oh. I'm doing something wrong here. There we go. And there's switches, and switches do different things, and you can really mess this up if you don't know what you're doing. You throw knives and you throw other weapons. And I'm not playing through very well because it's been a long time since I've messed with this. But the switches have different functions. And if you leave them in different positions, they open different doors, and they have different patterns. See, I picked up... Oh, I didn't do it right. There we go. Have to hold that key. And I got killed because I'm not paying attention. Serves me right. you get the basic idea. And some of the music is actually really good. It's intense. Let's see if and who is this? Tommy is here. He says Commodore 64 was the superior gaming machine of the 80s. And I would hear people that would make the argument for ColecoVision, actually. And ColecoVision was fairly popular. And I had a Coleco. And it came with, you could get an attachment for it that would allow for you to, you could get an attachment for the Coleco that would allow for you to play Atari cartridges on it. And I had that function. And you know what I keep doing? This is a wireless remote. And so if I angle it up, it's not receiving the commands, and I keep screwing it up. John says, sort of reminds me of the arcade game of Shinobi. I used to have Shinobi on the game cartridge. Yeah, but that's what I keep screwing up here, is I keep angling the controller up instead of keeping it facing down, or else it ain't gonna work. But you get the idea. It's a cool game. It's fun. About to die again. Because again, I'm not paying attention really. Well, talking to you guys. Messing my game up. No, it's quite alright. Just making a demonstration here. And I'll switch on to something else here in a moment. But again, this is one of the few games you could actually save the game. You could save it and get back to it some other time. And it takes a long time to finish, so you need to be able to save that. And let me catch up a couple of comments. Star Groove says the Bitmap Brothers games had killer soundtracks. Yeah, there's some interesting music on that. And Tuck says Shinobi and Shadow Dancer. I had Shinobi again on here, and I've got some cartridges with no home. There is Super Street Fighter 2. Super Street Fighter 2. Mortal Kombat 2. I was never that big of a fan of the Mortal Kombat, to be honest. I wasn't that big of a fan of Mortal Kombat. WrestleMania, the arcade game. Now, this was fun. This was fun, and I used to play this with the kids, too. WrestleMania, the arcade game. This is a cool game. And Tommy says, do you remember Strider? I'm not sure that I do. Light Crusader. What's wrong, Dusty? Are you going to come over whining, and then if I come near you, you're going to run away? Go on. Vector Man. Vector Man. Wonder Boy and Monster World. Who knows this cartridge? Who remembers Wonder Boy and Monster World? Anybody? Another one of my... What are you doing? Dusty? Being stupid. Another one of my all-time favorites. And another one, this is a role-playing game. And again, it is a game that you can save. One of the few Sega Genesis games that had a save function. Save function. And Uh, Zeku says, I went back to playing Rolling Thunder in the past weekend because I never realized it predated Shinobi. Okay. And Munin says, the modern Mortal Kombat games feel clunky. Last time I played one a few years ago, the game could not keep up with my inputs and the controller. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Wonder Boy and Monster World, if you've ever played this one before. It's an old school, again, role-playing game. And Tommy says he remembers there was a whole series. Yeah, there's other Wonder Boys. There are other Wonder Boys. But I've got the Wonder Boy in Monster World, and I used to play this one a lot. Great music, fun graphics. And it saves. And you start off like this. Uh-oh, I messed it up. And JG has joined us. Glad you could make it. And you got to read the thing, and that's him down there. And John says, I know Wonder Woman, Wonder Years, and Wonder Bread, but not Wonder Boy. And it's got this, like, kind of gentle sounding music. And it is a true classic role-playing game. So you go in and out of your house like that. And you run around. And you kill little monsters. So you walk right off the screen. Follow the arrows. You can read the sign. Talk to the wizard. But you do a lot of fighting and a lot of puzzle solving in this game. And let me see here if I catch up a couple of... Zeku says, I never knew about this game back in the day, only played it recently as a re-release. And Munin says the animation of Wonder Boy is reminiscent of Dragon Quest. Yeah, and I think I got that. I got the Dragon Quest on Nintendo NES. And Tommy says it does look like it does look great on the TV. You must have a graphics smoother. Oh. And now I can come up here and kill the snake and get a coin. And here's a woman with a shopkeeper here. And the coins will disappear if you don't pick them up. And now I'm just getting my butt kicked because I forgot how to play. But that's Wonder Boy and Monster World. Essentially, that's the basics of Wonder Boy and Monster World. You get the idea. Again, one of the few games that'll save. You can get many, many hours out of it. Many hours out of Wonder Boy. Tommy said, okay, yeah, he's talking about the TV. I did catch up the comments. Now, this one, Dragon's Fury. This might be another one a lot of people are not familiar with. In my opinion, if I can get it to focus, good Lord, there we go. One of the greatest video pinball games ever made. Dragon's Fury. One of the greatest video pinball games ever produced. And you can save it. You can save where you are on the game. And believe me, you have to. You've got to be able to save where you are on that game, because it's going to take you weeks to finish it. To play Dragon's Fury all the way through, it's going to take weeks. So it's not a game that you can just sit down and play. And the graphics, the music, the color saturation, everything in that game is just a blast. Just a blast. I'm trying to see if I can get it to plug in, because sometimes that AtGames console is a little wonky the way that it works. So I'm waiting to see if I can get it to connect properly. Here we go. If you've never seen Dragon's Fury, and it does have a two-player option. And you see there, new game or password. But you see you got your lot of bonus stages. There is a tilt function. Like you see, I can vibrate it to give it a tilt. I don't know if anyone is familiar with this one. If you've ever seen this or anything like it. Uh-oh. Dropped out of the bonus stage. And you can see the woman there is changing. And I always enjoyed this one. But yeah, you need like 1,000,000,000 points to finish this game. To play it all the way through. And it will take a long time, hence the capacity to save. Uh-oh, bonus round. This one's a tough one, because you got to kill all the little fire demons on top of one of the circles, and fill every circle to clear this level. But you get the idea. Anyone ever seen this one before? As I try to get back to the comments section. And Munin says, never heard of Dragon's Fury, but it does look like fun. That woman is clearly Medusa. Well, she transforms into a dragon by the end of the game. And then Star Groove says, that was released as Devil's Crush. Let me see, I gotta get this to stop, because you know, the comments, when it's in landscape, they disappear. He says, that was released as Devil's Crush on TurboGrafx 16. Tuck never saw it. And Brian says you should get the Sega 32X attachment. Great add-on. He says it's sarcasm. Okay. But that's one of my all-time favorites, actually, is the Dragon's Fury. The Dragon's Fury cartridge. Again, Gods, I used to play a lot. Global Gladiators is one of my favorite. Mickey's World of Illusion, which I wasn't able to get this cartridge to work. But fun, fun cartridge and good play value. You can play two-player. Mickey's World of Illusion has a save function, as does Gods and Global Gladiator and Sega Genesis, and that was a very rare thing in those days that you had a save function on a video game. Very rare indeed. And of course, where did I put that controller? I just set it down. I lost my controller, folks. I lost my controller. What will I do? It's got to be somewhere. Because I was going to take a look through the AtGames setup here and get an idea of this really quick. Here we go. And you see the games that are on there. There's Alex Kidd, Alien Storm, Altered Beast, Arrow Flash, Bonanza Brothers, Chakan, Columns, 1 and 3, Comic Zone, Crackdown. I used to play Comic Zone. Tuck says there was a lot of games I didn't play. I was still playing Atari 2600 when everyone had Nintendo. Me too. I didn't get a Nintendo or a Sega Genesis until I was an adult and moved out of the house. Munin says, till you find the controller, demonstrate the mace. Yeah, right. And Star Groove says, a Q-tip with isopropyl alcohol should clean them. Get them. Yeah, yeah. Don't blow in them. But you know the Comics Zone. I don't know if anyone remembers Comic Zone. I used to play that. It actually looks like a comic strip as you play it through. When you play Comic Zone. And it's got a lot of wannabe rock music. And he gets like, he's a cartoonist and he gets sucked into the comic strip world. See? And you jump from panel to panel like that. Like that. And where are we here? Munin says the opening to Comic Zone reminds me of Predator 2. And they could have copied. They could have copied. Decap Attack, Echo the Dolphin, Echo Jr., E-SWAT, Fatal Labyrinth, Flicky. See, a lot of these are just like fillers. There's Golden Axe 1, 2, and 3. And of course, you know, I was never a fan of 3. 1 is okay. 2 I used to play in the arcade. Again, I could play it all the way through without dying in the arcade. But playing it on the typical joystick or typical hand controller, it's not the same. So what else have we got here? Jewel Master, Kid Chameleon. And these are pretty cheap, those like AtGame, like retro style consoles. They don't cost much and you get a lot out of it. Mean Bean Machine, Mortal Kombat's 1, 2, and 3, Rye Star, Shadow Dancer, Shinobi 3, Sonic and Knuckles. And then we go back here. There's Sonic Spinball, which is that game's a pain in the ass. It's tough. It's tough to play Sonic Spinball. Who is that? What are you doing? Dusty again. Quit being weird. Sonic, Sonic 2, and then the Streets of Rage trilogy. The Ooze, Vector Man 2, Virtua Fighter 2, and Streets of Rage 2. Again, one of my all-time favorites. Let me see. Was there another comment here? No, there was not. I thought another comment had popped up. But Streets of Rage 2, another one of my all-time favorites from this system. And this is one that I used to play all the way through. And who knew that there's an extra life right at the beginning of the stage? Right here. And the music on this is fantastic. Fantastic electronic music there. Let me just see here. I saw some comments popping up. And Munin says, haven't heard of Virtua Fighter in a long time. Last time I played it was on PS2 in freshman year of high school. The franchise seems to have died after that. Stargroove says, Phantom Star 4 is my favorite RPG from that era. And T. Stewart says, I'm late. What multi-cart is this? And that is the AtGames from Sega Genesis. It's got like 100 games or something on it. Some of them are junk, but some of them are good stuff like this. One of my all-time favorites being Streets of Rage 2. And Stargrave says Streets of Rage 2 soundtrack is Aural Bliss. And he says, I even have this SOR2 soundtrack on vinyl. That's fantastic. Come and get it. And this is one I can play I can finish even on hard. And I just like, and I haven't played this in a long time, but it just feels natural. Picking up the controller. Uh-oh. Now I can lay down some pipe. Beat it, Josh. Get out of here. But yeah, this game was a blast. And it's the best of the three of the classic versions. I was doing a thing a while back where I was doing playthroughs on games, but nobody watched them. Nobody really paid attention. And Eric says, I never played this, but reminds me of Double Dragon. Come and get it. There it is. But yeah, again, one of my all-time favorites. This, Golden Axe 2, Gods, Dragon's Fury, Global Gladiators, and such. Johnny is here. He says he's driving. Well, then you're listening to Streets of Rage 2. Listening to Streets of Rage 2. And what else is on here? So that you can see the rest of it. Air hockey. Oh, how exciting. Black Sheep, Bomber, Bottle Tap Race, Brain Switch, Bulls and Cows, Cannon, Checker, Chess, Color Puzzle. See, this is the filler. Jewel Magic, Tetris, Jacks P, Hexagons, Formula Challenge, Flash Memory, Fiery Glow, Fight or Lose. It's another chess game. Dominant Color, Curling 2010, Cross the Road, Frogger, Logic Digital, Mahjong, Match 11, Mega Brain Switch, Memory, Memory Match, Mirror Mirror, Mr. Balls, Natural Power, Panic Lift. See? Whack-A-Wolf, Warehouse Keeper, Treasure Hunt. This is all filler. Table Magic, Sudoku Quiz, Spider, Sparkling Truffle, Space Hunter, Snake, Reaction Match. And then we're back to the very beginning again. Back to the beginning of the game. And Timothy says Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine is still my jam. But there's some good stuff on here. There's your classic Altered Beast, you know. Chakan. Who's ever played Chakan? This is a cool game. It takes a long time to finish. And again, another Sega cartridge that had a save feature. It had a save feature to it. Because you had to get back to it. There's no way you could finish this in one day. There's no way. Munit says, if I'm going to play chess, why would I do it on a game system? The AI is nothing compared to a real player. Well, I mean, if there's no one around. And I'll let you look at the Chakan really quickly here. I haven't played this in years, but I just remember the game. And Munit says Chakan looks like Cad Bane from the Clone Wars. Instead of pistols, he has swords. Yeah, or Cad Bane looks like him. And it tells you some of the story there. Obviously, it gives you some synopsis. And there's several levels. Several levels to this game. And like I said, you can save. You start here. And you slice in all different directions, even down. And you're in like this dimension, floating in the middle of nowhere. It's like your own dimension. And you go through different portals into different worlds. Like this right here. and you can see the image of a face in that portal. Well, I can see it. I don't know how well it's translating. And you go through the portal into other worlds, and you fight the demons. And Star Groove says, I never played Chakan, but I always heard it was harder than hell. It was based on an indie comic at the time. And Timothy says that is very Cad Bane or vice versa. Yeah, vice versa. See, now I can go through the portal if it's accessible. There I go. And then it gives you a synopsis of what dimension you're going into, so that you know what you have to do. And there's multiple levels within each dimension. And this game is very hard. That is no joke. But your character is basically immortal, but if you mess up, you go back to where you started. You're transported back to your dimension if you die. So there is no end to your life. You can go in there 1,000 times. But it is very, very tough to beat. It's very tough to play this game through. And I don't know if anyone ever... I have beaten the game. I don't have the cartridge anymore, but I did when I had the cartridge. And I had Comic Zone also. You know when I got my Sega Genesis? My original Sega Genesis is when Woolworths went out of business. And when they got below 50%, because they went down 10% every week until they were at 90% and then 95%, and then they were selling store fixtures. When they passed 50%, I went and got my Sega Genesis and got as many cartridges as I could afford at the time. And Stargroove says that's why he was called the Forever Man. Yeah, because he doesn't die. If you get killed, you go right back to your dimension, but you got to start all over again. All over again. There's Echo the Dolphin. Golden Axe 1, 2, and 3. And 3, Golden Axe 3, just like with Streets of Rage 3, has this really weird kind of three-dimensional attempt that it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And like I said, I used to, in the arcade, I could play this all the way through without dying. But then on the home system, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't play it through without dying in the home system. It was too difficult. Because just a different type of controller. And pick your poison between heroes, because they all three have a different function. Uh-oh. For those of you who've never seen Golden Axe before, uh-oh. I angled the controller up again and messed that up. But again, this is a classic. Oh well, lost my weapon. As I catch up a couple of comments here really quickly. And Stargroove says, that's cool. I bought my copy of Mega Man 2 from the Woolworths back in the day. And Munin says, have you ever played a Persona or Shin Megami game? They are my favorite games ever. I'm not sure. And Legends likes Golden Axe. Legends likes Golden Axe. It's a cool system. He said I used to have a port of... I used to have a part of that with the Sonic Spinball and Echo the Dolphin. Uh-oh. My thing popped out of the holder. Popped out of the holder. But yeah, there we go. Just a basic run through, just a little conversation about Sega Genesis. Again, one of my all-time favorite systems. Shared a couple of the games with you here really quickly. And I don't know if people just want to sit here and watch me play games all day. I know this big business in that for some people, where they can just sit there and play video games all day, but it's all modern games, and they're kind of like doing walkthroughs and stuff of modern systems, which I don't really have any. I don't really have any. Again, I got the Atari 2600. I've got Nintendo NES. I've got Nintendo, or rather Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, GameCube, Sega Genesis, PlayStation 2, and then Xbox 360 is as high as it goes. And you see I've got like GameCube games, Xbox and Xbox 360, PlayStation 2 games there. You know, here's these. These are the Super Nintendo cartridges. I got a bunch of these. These are floppy disks games. These are floppies. See, Digital Horizon, Algae Blaster, the Las Vegas Casino, Grammar Checker, Typing Teacher. And then I've got the, again, Sega Genesis. There's the 64 cartridges. These are the Game Boy, because I do have a vintage Game Boy, Nintendo DS, and then Nintendo NES is the most I have. And we could talk about another one of these systems another time. There's my Game Boy in here with my Walkman hiding back there. Always loved the vintage games. I always default back. And Johnny says, do you own TurboGrafx 16? No, I don't have that. Brian says, Luigi's Mansion is my favorite GameCube game besides Smash Brothers Melee, Star Fox Adventures, and Animal Crossing. But yeah, I always go back to... I always seem to want to go back to either Sega Genesis or Nintendo NES. Those seem to be my favorites, my go-tos for when I'm in the mood, especially for vintage video games. But there you go. Like I said, not a massive collection, but some stuff that I enjoy. Some stuff that I enjoy, and plus I have extras on the AtGames. The AtGames, or AtGames rather, console. And Johnny says NES rules the world. Yeah, well, I've got the most of these. And NES, even just the transition from going to 4 to 8 bits, 4-bit on Atari to 8 bits, was just mind-boggling what you could get away with here. And you see I've got tons of these. And this is a CD cabinet, basically, that these are all stuffed into. And there's some great stuff there that we can take a look at on another time, as well as the Nintendo DS. I used to play the DS quite a bit, actually. Used to play the DS quite a bit. I don't have very many 64 cartridges either. Just a handful. There's the Namco Museum right there. I think I have a Namco Museum for every system. Because I've got it on PlayStation and Xbox too. But there you go, folks. Sorry about the confusion earlier. Again, this is my reboot live because the original one shut down. It crashed like 5 times or 4 times in 5 minutes, and I just said the hell with it and shut it down completely and just rebooted the live from scratch, which is a pain in the butt because when you set it up in advance and people are waiting, and then now there's a link that just won't work. There's a dead link, so it's unfortunate that that's how things go. But what are you going to do? But I'll go ahead and sign off now. Glad you all could join us. Hope you enjoyed the trip down memory lane with the Sega Genesis, one of my all-time favorites. And we'll do one of these again sometime soon.